Hey Peter.
Yari Stilo.
Hey, what are you dancing today?
I am dancing the middle of the summer. No, no, numerous heat waves. I'm dancing the first day of rain in weeks. I am, yeah, with you and this moment. Yari Stilo, what are you dancing with today?
Uh, I think I'm dancing about materialities of of the place. I don't know. Dancing with the materialities. You mean the texture? I mean the texture, the sensations of that.
Yeah.
And but also about the materialities of my movement. I don't know what that means. It's maybe the knowledge about
Mm.
the knowledge of my movement of the dance. Maybe it's something about that materialities. I mean, referring to the episode, your episode of this week.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, um, yeah, what is the knowledge of dance? This was interesting to listen back to. I remember wanting to speak about and look at like how like the silence that occurs whilst dancing feels. And interestingly, I took it in a completely different place to do with knowledge, expression, meaning, materiality. Yeah.
It's so obscure somehow. What is this knowledge? What kind of information are?
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
something. Is it something it's something that is inherent of the movement of. It's something coming from my body. It's something
I,
that has to do something, but it's not very clear what it is. You know what I mean? It's something.
yeah.
Speaking also about this, a sort of like meaning without vocabulary. I don't know if you've seen that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, actually, I was just gonna say, like, I was thinking how, in a way, I make this arbitrary sort of distinction, like um, that that the dance could be either expressive or try to be expressive or be um, knowledge, the sort of distinction between the two somehow. And I wonder, surely expression is in some forms a form of knowledge. Language is about knowledge. Um, so sort of moving away from that, or trying to create a distinction in movement that it could be uh, have um, a different form than one of expression, one of like meaning and sort of functioning in that way. Because surely they're sort of entwined. I mean, I guess one of the questions I had actually listening back was after, we do this, is this it? This sort of thing. Um, the sort of question, can we not think when we move? Like, is there a separation that can be made between this thinking mind and this moving body? Can we find ourselves um, divorced from the thinking mind and just allow the body to do what it wants? Like, can it have a will that is even separate from our thinking? Um, and what does that mean, you know, for dance? I mean, I sometimes think people are speaking about it, or touching on it a little bit when they speak of being in a flow state, as though the flow state means I am no longer acting as a thinking entity, but I am being possessed by the materiality of the moving body.
Yeah, it's also puts expression and knowledge beside. It makes me think that expression is the reading of
Mm.
the movement, where the knowledge is what the movement convey.
Mm.
Maybe. Do you know what I mean? Maybe also inspired by your thinking choreography as information, as knowledge, and so on.
Mm.
In this case, it's really. I also feel that difference. Our expression is really about um, it's the receiving,
Yeah.
where knowledge is the is what is conveyed, but it's also like, is it because now you spoke about intuition, almost flowing. It's also
Yeah.
a body intuition, let's say. Is something about that, or an experience of being a state. But I'm
Yeah.
also thinking that must be much more than that. Only the body, when we speak about knowledge, it's not only knowledge of the body. It's not only knowledge about thinking,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
like in those terms, or like what is this knowledge that is beyond the body, that is in the dance? Because then it would consider like consider then it's not dance knowledge.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's something about that.
Yeah. And I mean, as they do it as well, mm, I do, I do find there is something interesting in being with this, the intelligence that exists in the body. Like it knows how to stand. I don't have to think how to stand. It has an intuition of what to do if something falls over, or how to catch it, or if I stumble, or like there are these qualities that are built into the moving body that we can listen to and be with in some way. Um, and and I don't know, just thinking with that and being with that, there is a sort of joy, like to take away. I think I tried to talk about it towards the end, and now I'm forgetting what I said. But like, to take away the aesthetic almost of the 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 body, and go with, yeah, an intuition, or an action, and be pedestrian, right? um and then see, or every day, and see how the body is acting and responding, because of course,
Mm.
yeah, that can also be taken into a sort of an aesthetic dance aesthetic.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be, of course.
yeah. You actually enter with this. Is this it?
Yeah.
And it was very difficult for me to understand, but I got it really as how language defines things very
Hmm.
clearly, and vocabulary means to have a word.
Yeah.
And is this it? It's because one of the most difficult things in relation to this knowledge that is more silent, what you're actually
Yeah.
speaking. It's actually exactly this inability to make it
Mm.
into something.
Hmm.
You know, knowledge then move. I mean, knowledge is
Yeah.
moving generally, but we have the tendency to do the opposite. Kind of maybe knowledge is
Mm.
something that stays. And And so I feel like, is this it? Is also a way to attempt that, to
Yes.
attempt to use a knowledge that this tendency doesn't finish, but to grasp it for, or to question if it's graspable without putting language on it. So this is the beauty of that. Because once you put the language, there is still another system coming in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we can't help ourselves being in somehow an experiential relationship with what is what has accumulated as knowledge, what has accumulated as constitutive relationships that have like formed. And I agree. I think it's a shame that I didn't really explain this exercise so clearly. Partly because I often think it's extremely simple, but I don't know. It has to be articulated for it to be understood. So the task is like you scan or you consider what you're doing or where you are, and you ask, is this it? And importantly, you ask, is this what I think it is? And often I name it and I write it as like, is this it? That being the practice, is this it? And it's not just, is this it? It's like, is this it? Is this what I think it is? And I think there's something really important about um, you're not only asking like, am I where I am? Is this, is this where I am? Is this where I want to be almost? You're asking, is this what I think is where I am? Is this what I think I'm doing? Is this what I like? What is the knownness of the activity? What is the knownness of the sensation of the experience? And how can I understand if it is what I think it is, if it is what I know it to be? So the sort of a desire to linger longer, maybe to repeat, to slow down, um, to to see a limit, to go to its edges, and then come back and return, but to really be within your own sensation and experience of your experience and ask if you know it to be what it is, or what
Yeah,
you think it to be.
yeah,
If you can answer, in fact, is this it? Is this what I think it is, so to speak?
right.
And I mean, it's an unanswerable sort of question, but hopefully it taps into um, those the knowledges or the intuitions or the habits that are sort of, they perform and inform you as a person and your dancing. Uh, I mean, I'm just continually fascinated by the idea that the makeup of the body, the way the body is built, the way the experience of being with the body is practiced and established, becomes this material which is both identity and also expression. You know, that as a dancer, we perform ourself. We perform this function that we have uh, acquired or conjured or established through practice. We present it in a way, in some fashion, um, which is both an expression we are choosing to give and simultaneously what we are. There's something very interesting about that. And maybe this collapse of um, expression and identity is in fact why it often feels like it fails to create meaning. Because maybe for meaning to feel understandable and relatable, it needs to somehow separate from life to give a sort of reflection of life. If life and the meaning are entangled, so to speak, if they have become one, can one truly understand what they're saying? Because I mean, you look at sort of virtuoso dancers, people who are able to do sort of amazing feats. Somehow we only manage to recognize them as distinct and different is because they're outside of the norm. But if you really got to know the person, some of the things they're doing are a little bit every day for them, you know, and to the point where I think, you know, a virtuoso dancer doesn't fully understand what it might be to not touch their toes, you know, or to be able to move in that way, or to articulate themselves, to articulate their body as they can because of now who they are through this transformation of practice.
Mm. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Uh,
I
yeah.
saw I saw a beautiful thing with a ballet dancer actually on BBC. And I'm trying to look it up while I talk. And it was about a ballet dancer who wanted to be a principal dancer. Like her name is Melissa Hamilton. From Northern Ireland originally, but it's part of a series called Our Lives, and in it she describes how she started doing ballet, and then how she found herself desiring to be this principal ballerina. And then she describes what it took to get there, and how unique and unlikely her journey was. She became a principal at the age of 36, I think, which of course for the Royal Ballet is very unusual. I think she's the oldest person to have ever done this. Usually you become a principal in your 20s. At least this is what she was saying in the documentary. And she kept on saying things like, I'm not sure I would have done this if I had have known what was involved in becoming a principal ballerina. And also she spoke about, and also her family was interviewed as well, and they spoke about the loss of childhood and the loss of the person that is known to the family, because there's this sense that she gave herself to ballet and to becoming a ballet dancer, and they lost this family connection. And and Melissa says like it's not. She wouldn't change it. It's something she still wants to be a dancer. She wants to be the person she is. It's not out of like a sense of regret, but it's maybe out of a sense of recognition of sacrifice that was necessary to be the person she is. I find this extremely interesting how, in that specific form, it's very obvious that the person is produced at the expense of being recognizable to maybe a more normative way of functioning and being in a family in this instance.
I also wonder though if uh, there is something about how the artists tend to live in systems that are a bit on the edge of society, or of
Mm-hmm.
normative systems of societies, even though they are in systematic institutions like a dance ballerinas and dancer and ballet dancer might be. but how time for them also passed differently. I mean,
Mm.
we can say also the development of ballet life.
Yeah.
It goes, yes, it goes slower than everyday life.
Mm.
In terms of technology, in terms of knowledge, in terms of time, aesthetics, for example.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was
I
actually
don't.
thinking about this idea that, like art, different art forms, they try to communicate across all contexts. You produce an artwork that can be useful or be aesthetically relevant to many, many people across many different sort of experiences and cultures and contexts, that it has like an ambition to be sort of a general objective form. And ballet, I would argue, has that a little bit because of its history with kings and queens, where they establish a objective aesthetic for subjects to follow and so on. But I think it's very interesting, um, yeah, what it does, what it means to context. Because of course, I feel also we're moving into an age where contexts and context specificity is more and more recognized as an integral element to the artwork. That the artwork doesn't have to, or doesn't need to, or shouldn't even be expected to serve everyone. That it has a specificity that can communicate with a unique group. And uh, yeah, then I wonder, can, like, what is an edge then if each context can have its own little aesthetic regime? Um, because I definitely agree, artists in the sort of general sense, they live on the extremity of a generalized context of everyone, but um everyone is weird, like even every community is extremely strange and it has its own logic and
Yes,
is pushing its own boundaries.
yeah, maybe you're right. I'm also just really like I was really speaking clearly in relation to maybe neoliberals context or like
Mm. Yeah,
every day,
no.
like 8 hours working. Well, even the ballet
Mm,
they do that,
mm,
but suddenly it's more about that. But maybe you are right. I mean, banking and certain things are also so unnormal somehow, although they're very, every day. I mean, if you work in so if you work in the Wall Street, like what
mm.
that really means, that kind
Yeah.
of work, it's also very abstract to people.
Yeah, I guess it's the trap that we fall into often, where we imagine there's a normal outside of ourselves, but everyone has this sort of like normal, which, and then the normal doesn't really exist. It's an average that sort of a mean between us all, but no one is fully living within
Hmm.
that space. They
Hmm.
fall out of it at different parts and stuff, of course, and in different
Hmm.
ways. But you're right. I mean, and yet ballet life is an extreme life. It's an extreme sacrifice. It's still a virtuosic methodology and practice and form of performance. So it's not wrong to say, but but I think I think yeah, I get interested in the sort of like the uh how contexts are playing a role in allowing different dances to exist and be what they are, and also not even just um, say like a dance genre like ballet or something like that, but even to the specific expressions. That an artwork couldn't have been made anywhere else or with anyone else or at any other time because it was that time and place and people that needed to express life in that way. Like it made sense for that time. I don't know if you've ever tried to recreate any of your own work again, like or to sort of create a version of it that would sort of be for now. And
Mm.
when I've ever done this, I always feel like it falls short, as if I am no longer the person who can say those words that
Yeah.
can find a way of tapping into the sensibility and the articulation and the vibe and the qualities that made that previous work what it was and so relevant and important for me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's also to say that relevance and importance and maybe even context gets articulated over time. We come to recognize what was, like your childhood or your formative years as a young
Uh,
adult or whatever, through looking back and saying, "Oh yeah, you remember when this and this happened, and we did this and this." But when you're doing it, you're not. It's not contextualized in that manner. Literally, it's not given shape or form
yes.
in a reflective state, so it can never exist
I mean,
as.
there is some artists and choreographers that are really busy into when they do a piece to actually to just bring back something
Mm,
old and
yeah.
just do it again and call it a new piece. So some other artists, choreographers are actually doing when they do bring back an old piece, it's anyway very, very different from the first.
Mm,
So like also they are aware of the an impossibility in reproducing because the context, historical or places are different. But there are artists that also write uh, what are the what are the things that they need to have there to this piece to come. And in
mhm,
terms of maybe it's that maybe sometimes it can be just political. There is a
mm,
need of a specific political environment, or there is a need of a specific uh, circumstances.
yeah.
So this is also interesting in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And 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 I think when one starts to think contextually like that, because for some reason it differs for me from thinking through expanded choreography, which I feel often emphasizes materiality in a very traditional way of sort of form and object-based material. Um, but it allows that somehow we start to recognize the apparatus that produces the work to be what it is. That it becomes so instrumental in the articulation of a dance. Um, like if you're not involved in a theatre mechanism, you won't make a work within that theatre mechanism. Um, you can strive and find yourself. You can produce a theatre or produce those mechanisms that make something feel theatrical in that sense. But depending on what kind of situation you're in, it will produce a specific type of dance. I'm still very much with Leonora's day and thinking about how much was sort of produced through the specificity of her. context, her day's context, and the dance context that she works in and dances with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I also wonder, like all the people she met by accident. I mean, they
Yeah.
might have also similar life of just going around a lot or going to similar places. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you give class, I have no idea, 3 times per week or like 3 times per day, or you give a class
Mm,
and then you go working in that place and then you do, like
mm.
how that also is
Yeah,
bringing
absolutely.
similar people around the same places or the same
Mm.
way of systems.
Ah, so Yari, what else have you been dancing with these days? And is there something you're dancing right now?
I am with the thought that about this question about knowledge and the dance knowledge. What the difference between dance knowledge and body knowledge? I don't know why.
Mm,
It's inspiring somehow. Um, and I don't know if it's. I think it's a bit because this is a work I am thinking through. Where is dance and how do we love dance?
mm,
That should make me think that there is something about dance that is it's beyond the body. That's why, and
yeah.
that's relationality between maybe the body, the space, and the people around. Like that is the knowledge of dance. That knowledge of dance is not in my movement only,
Mm.
but is exactly in that intersection between my movement and the space and me, people I met, and you mm, asking me to listen your podcast and so on.
I mean, it's really nice this sort of relationship, like you say, love for dance. Like, what is this? The relationality, maybe not just the bodily material of dancing, because I think when we speak about materiality, there's a desire to surmise and simplify, and also distinguish, dance's materiality from other materialities or define materialities, and say, oh, well, how does it differ? And of course, with like relationality or things that inform activities or experience, all these things that I tend to circle around myself and keep coming back to. I mean, they exist in many other forms as well. It's not just specific to dance. So I think what's really nice with your thinking, and I mean, we haven't spoken about it too much in the podcast. I hope we get to, but around love and love, being in love with dance, and what it means to be in love with dance, is that it doesn't necessarily ask what's the material, but it sort of provides the idea, okay, I'm in love with this thing. I have this relationship or this impassioned um, relationality to something that I keep returning to. And it doesn't have to be a single thing, but it forms a ongoing, I don't want to say practice, because maybe the idea of love as a practice seems, well, I don't know, it seems difficult to completely marry, ironically, completely fix. But definitely, there's something about returning, falling in love, being, having a relationship, having it impassioned, and wild and all this.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
So I'll see you next week.
Well, see you
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah.
See you everybody next week.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Now I feel it.
Hey.
The second we stop talking or I stop talking and I just start moving, stop listening, like to what? Now like now I feel like I'm dancing.
Ah, wow.
Yeah. I have such a strong association with just shutting up.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.